Yeah, English.
Yeah, the first two lines. Asara Sheyoshvin v'Eiskim b'Torah Shechina shruya b'neihem. 10 people are sitting together learning Torah. The Shechina rests amongst them. Huh?
Yeah.
Asara Sheyoshvin v'Eiskim b'Torah Shechina shruya b'neihem. 10 people are sitting together and learning Torah. The Shechina rests amongst them. Shenema Elakim nitzav b'adas keil. The Eibusha stands in an Eidah, in a congregation, and Rashi says that an Eidah means 10 people. Minayin afilu chamisha. What about if there's only 5 people sitting together? Is also Shenema v'agudas al eretz yisoda. There's a passage that says the word aguda. Aguda means 5 people, as Rashi, Rambam, Rabbeinu Yehuda say. So therefore, 5 people are also. Uminayin afilu shloisha. Now we're on page Kuf Memtes. Kuf Memtes. Now we have the Kuf papers. Uminayin afilu shloisha. How do we know if even 3 people? The Shechinah is there. Shenema b'kelev Elikim yishbeit. Elikim referring to a Beis Din, which is called Elikim, includes 3 people. Uminayin afilu shnayim. How about 2 people? Is also Shenema oz nidberu yira Hashem ish el re'ehu v'yakshiv Hashem v'yishma. Says ish el re'ehu, one man with his friend. That's 2 people. Is also the Shechinah is with him. Uminayin afilu echad. How about 1 person learning by himself? Is Shenema b'chol mokim asher askeh shmi. Even wherever you're going to mention my name, meaning Hashem's name, even if you're learning by yourself, is I'm going to come there and I'm going to give you a bracha. V'hainu, says the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Baal HaGevurah, even if 1 person is learning by himself, he is able to bring down Gilu Elokus. Umikol Makeh. Even though we said that 1 person is also enough, nevertheless there is a difference between 1 person learning or a rabbi. Many people learn. The rabbi, if there's a multitude of people, is then they are able to draw down a higher level. Maybe tefillah, just like we find by davening. If people together, if there's a minyan together, if people are davening together, is it never gets despised. The tefillah is always received. Shenema hein keil kabel lo yimas. Shaharabim b'tfilosom. When there's many people together davening, mamshichim bechinas yud gimel midas harachmim. That's that we see here that there's a specialty when there's many people together, when there's a minyan, that draws down the 13 midas harachmim. It's just like it is by davening. Same thing when we learn together. Torah with a minyan is nimsha gilui or elyon yosef. There's a higher gilui that's being brought down into the world. Where do we see this connection, this parallel between davening and learning? We said davening is mamshich b'zerachmim, and Torah is also mamshich and oir elyon. So what's the connection between davening and learning? You see it clearly. Rabbi Yishmael says we're able to expand the Torah in the 13 midas. This is the Beis that we say every day before Hoidul. And it starts off with Bekal v'chayim v'gzera shova v'chulu. So there's 13 midas how to expand the Torah. There's 13 ways of bringing down the Gilui of Torah. V'hainu, the whole midah ma'yud givu midas shatein nedershes behem hu limud chodesh. Every single midah brings down a new type of learning. Kal v'chayim is one type, gzeir shov is another type. Altogether 13 different ways. U'kamoi midah rishayim shi kal v'chayim. Let's take the first one, which is kal v'chayim. Hinehu melamed inyan chodesh b'Torah. Teaches a new concept in Torah. Is imkein hareze mocher haTorah. If the Kal V'chayim can teach us a new inyan in Torah, that means it is a source for Torah. Masher megalim inyanim chadoshim b'Torah. This brings out new things in Torah. V'hainu, that means to say the whole midah u'midah. Every single one of these 13 midas is megalim oir haTorah begilu ibiproti yisayis. Reveals more details of Torah, more Torah and more details. The Tam Hadava, how comes the 13 midas of Torah bring out new things in Torah? Lefi the Yud Gimel midas harachmim shatein deshes behem hem keneged Yud Gimel midas harachmim. because these 13 attributes of expounding Torah are connected. The 13 are parallel to the 13 midas arachmim. And we find, the Mezitch Magid explained, the Kasha, his Moshe Rabbeinu midah rishona. When Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned the first of the midas, the Yud midas arachmim, shehu shem keil. When Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned the first midah, which is keil, like we say, Hashem shem keil racham v'chanum, keil is the first one. When did Moshe Rabbeinu mention it? In the pasuk, it's Moshe said by Miriam. It says, Moshe b'tfilasi Omar, keil no refor no lo. Please heal Miriam. So he used the word keil. As soon as he said the word keil, we find an interesting thing. What was the reply from the Hashem? Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu kal v'chomer. He said, the Hashem replied with the kal v'chomer. T'chsiv vayem Hashem el Moshe al yisracholim shivas yamim v'omar azal kal v'chomer l'shchina. The reply was that she has to be locked away for 7 days, and we learned this out through a kal v'chomer. So you see that the first meaning of the Yud Midas that we expound Torah is parallel to the Yud Midas Arachmim. As soon as he mentioned Keil, says the Magid, immediately we had a Kal V'chaim. Harei, Sha'alidei, Yud Gim Midas Arachmim, Nimshachim HaYud Gim Midas Shabbatayra. So we see that they go together. When you have Yud Gim Midas Arachmim, you also mamshich from the Yud Gim Midas of Torah. V'hainu, T'chmoi Sha'alidei Shem Keil, Nimshach Inyan Hamidid L'Kal V'chaim, just like through the Shem Keil came about the Gili of Kal V'chomer, it can maintain, it works the other way around as well. Alidei Klolas, a Yud Gil Midas Shatein, and Deshes Behem, Mamshichim Gilu Yud Gil Midas Arachmim. So each one has an effect on the other one. If a person learns Torah, he draws down Yud Gil Midas Arachmim. If he draws down Midas Arachmim, he's revealing Torah. Both go together. And to prove this, the Frierdiker Rebbe also brings down here another medrash where we see that Torah and Tefillah run together. It says, "V'zeh shomra azal al pasuk haroya b'Shoshanim." It's a pasuk in Shiashirim where it says the word Shoshanim. Yidden are compared to a Shoshana meaning a rose. It says the medrash, "Al tika Shoshanim ela Shoshanim b'halachas." Chazal tell us that Shoshana, you can darshan the word to mean Shoshanim b'halachas, those who learn halachas, in other words, learning Torah. So now we've translated Shoshana as meaning learning Torah. But on the other hand, in the Zohar it says, Man Shoshana do Knesset Yisrael. Who is the Shoshana? Who is this rose? This is Yidden. Ma Shoshana ispat kleise alin. Just like a Shoshana has 13 petals on the rose, is Uf Knesset Yisrael ispat kleise mechinun derachmin. So too Yidden have 13 attributes of mercy, the Sochlin lo mikol sitraho, which surround it from all sides. So basically what the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying is, in a nutshell, that when we learn Torah and Tefillah are parallel to each other. Just like the Yud Gimel Midas Harachmim, the Yud Gimel Midas Shatein Nejeshes Bahem. And we see that clearly from the Torah of the Magid. The Magid said that as soon as Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned the first midah of Yud Gimel Midas Harachmim, which is Shem Keil, immediately Hashem replied with the Kal V'chomer. So you see that this midah brings about this midah. If you have Shem Keil in Yud Gimel Midas Arachmim, you receive a Kal V'chomer in Yud Gimel Midas Shatein Nejeshes Bahem. Says the Frierdiker Rebbe, that means it works both ways. If you learn Torah Barabim, you're going to get also the same effect as Tefillah Barabim. What does Tefillah Barabim accomplish? You have a higher level. You're able to draw down the Yud Gimel Midas Arachmim. It's the same thing through Torah Barabim. You're also able to manage to draw down a higher level, higher than Ishtalshalos. So basically, this is the whole thrust of the Maamar, that the Frierdiker Rebbe wants to encourage the inyan of Limud Torah Barabim. That although you can learn on your own, and the Mishnah says clearly that even if there's one person learning by himself, the Shekhinah is with him, but you cannot compare that to the fact when there's a million of people, you have Hashroas HaShekhinah on a much higher and greater level, just like by davening, when you have a million, it's a higher level. That's the thrust of the stuff over there. Further, what do you want? So maybe we finish off the last few lines of the Maamar?
Last few lines of the Maamar.
Page Kuflon Beis, we'll just finish off the last
Beis.
We'll start the last few lines. The line begins 2, 4, 6. About 7 lines from the end of the page, just before the end of page Kuflon Beis. The line begins Lahamshich. Lahamshach Gilu Lukus Alei Limud HaTorah Al Manas Lases. So here he says, the Frierdiker Rebbe continues, Rak Sheyesh Hefresh Be'Yochid L'Rabim.
Which line?
The line begins Lahamshach, about 7 lines before the end of the page. Lahamshach Gilu Lukus. Towards the end of the line it says Rak Sheyesh Hefresh Be'Yochid L'Rabim. He's repeating the same idea. The Koyach HaRabim Odif Yosef. There's many people together has a much stronger effect. If 10 people are learning together Torah, the Shekhinah rests. Shehi Torah Torah's Harabim. Specifically, we're talking about when there's a Rabbim. Even one person is also has Asheras HaShekhinah. Here the Frierdiker Rebbe is adding on another point to learn with somebody else. Shezehu inyan stoker or gemilas hasadim benafshe. When a person gives stocker benefesh, that means he teaches somebody else. Is a shadidei zeh nasim moiche v'libe zakim elef peamim kacha. This is a quotation from the Torah that if a person gives stocker, whether it's physical stocker, money, or if he gives stocker ruchnis, also his mind and heart becomes zakim, becomes purified, becomes more edel, 1,000 times as much. We'll get into that in a second. He's able to draw down from the source of all brachas. For who the fish the yud gimel midas hatayra and mamshichim yud gimel midas arachmin sheyi hashva gam begashmis v'teva nirav anigla b'bonei chayim ezein revicha. It's interesting that the Rebbe has many letters in Igros Kodesh where he quotes this line that we just said from Torah, from the Alter Rebbe, where if you give tzedakah, na'aseh moiche v'libe zakim elef peamim kacha. And the Rebbe mentions that when he tells this over to people, he says this is not a guzma. There's a lot of times you have in Chazal, you have that they say something. The Gemara talks about that Chazal sometimes say a lashon of guzma, that means an exaggeration. Right? You have this in Masechtas Tamuz, for example, it says that there was a very heavy piece of gold in the Beis Hamikdash which needed 300 kohanim to pick it up. The Gemara says it's an exaggeration. Some people say it was for real, some people say it's exaggeration. There is such a thing, like even in Psukim you have the same thing. You have that they saw buildings, Bashamayim, like we say also in English, you say skyscrapers. Is it scraping the sky? How high is this building? Even if you double the Twin Towers, you're not going to get to the sky. Nevertheless, we call it that. It's a Lashon B'nai Adam, we speak in an exaggerated form. But on this line, the Rebbe says, Zakim Elef Peamim Kacha is not an exaggeration. Now how is that possible? How is that possible that if you give tzedakah, your mind becomes more edel 1,000 times as much? So the Rebbe always points to, if you see in the Ha'ara, it brings down, look at the Torah Gimel Pasha, says Torah Shmuel, and it's a Maamar from the Rebbe Marash, where the Rebbe Marash actually explains how it could be in a simple sense. But I've seen it begashmius. There's a certain great one of our Baba Sharov. I don't know if I have to. I should mention his name. I don't know, but he wasn't originally so smart, should we say? And he was Matzi. He's now Boki B'Shas, and he writes Svarim, and he says his atzlocha was from giving tzedakah. He gave physical tzedakah, not just tzedakah ruchnis, physical tzedakah. That's what the Rebbe told him to do. The Rebbe mentioned this, and he always is misyageya. He works very hard in giving tzedakah, and it has an effect. And B'didi have uvda. I had a story with a bocha in yeshiva some years ago. It was an Israeli bocha. He came complaining that nothing stays in his head. Talking about a 19, 20-year-old bocha, and he says he's trying to learn smicha. He's learning with his chavrusa, and whatever it says in the sefer, his chavrusa has to teach him because he doesn't get it himself. And then shortly after that, it's gone. It doesn't remain. So I'm thinking, what can I can't help there's an expression in Chassidus, you can't add to his brains. But this Eitzah came to mind. Yeah, you can fix his head. So I told him the story of the Tzemach Tzedek to explain this point. There's a Maisa of the Tzemach Tzedek. There was somebody once, a very simple man, who came to Lubavitch and wasn't expecting to get a Yechidus straight away. That's for definite. And all of a sudden he hears the Gabbai come out from the Tzemach Tzedek's room saying, let's call him Yankel. Where's Yankel from this and this town? She's calling me. He jumps up. I'm Yankel from this and this town. Come inside. The Rebbe wants to see you. he's a simple yankel. What does everyone want to see him for? So he goes into the room, and the Tzemach Tzedek starts quizzing him. What do you do for a living? What exactly do you do? So when do you daven? When do you learn? And he's asking questions, details, and it seems the Tzemach Tzedek's not done yet. He's asking more questions. And finally, he says, anything special? What do you do with your money? What do you do? He says, well, I give mice, and besides mice, you do anything else? He says, well, actually, he says, I heard a mimer from you, Tzemach Tzedek, and you said once a mimer. I only remember the Dibar Maskell in the first line or two of the mimer. I don't understand more than that. But I remember you said a mimer in Kesef Talve Es Ami. In Kesef Talve Es Ami, if you lend Es Ami, my people, if you lend my people money, etc. And you brought down the lotion of the Medrash that says in the passage, Es Ami, my people, which if you change around the Nakudas, it can be read as At Imi, you are with me. Imim Bibichitzasi, you're with me. If you lend people money, you're with me. So I started a gemach. I didn't need to borrow any money, but I borrowed money in order to lend other people money. And so it goes around in a circle till it comes back to me, and then we go around in circles lending each other money. And some people need it, so it helps people. And once he told this to the Tzemach Tzedek said, oh, now I understand. And afterwards, the Tzemach Tzedek said, I don't know who to, he said, I saw on this chosid, the expression of the Sikha is, from the Frierdiker Rebbe, is an Ur Netzal of Chesed Datzilus was shining on this person. This is not a simple description of what's it. This is just from lending money, making loans to other people to help somebody out. That's how great. You're with me if you lend somebody money. So I told this to this bacher, and I said, do a gemach with your friends. Bacher need money the whole time, even just a loan for a short amount of time to buy themselves a pair of shoelaces, who knows what. So, so he started doing that. Approximately a half a year later, he says to me, it worked. It says, not only do I understand what my chavus is teaching me, but I've started teaching him. So it works. If you want to have Michoel Golomb Zakim Elef Peamim Kacha, just lend people money or give people money, and that's what it says, and it's not a guzma. The Rebbe does says, although the Rebbe does mention in the letter, that doesn't mean to say you can sit back and not learn and say, well, Elef Peamim Kacha, I'm 1,000 times more smart. I don't have to sit and learn. No, it doesn't mean that. It means what you could accomplish in 1,000 hours, you can now accomplish in 1 hour. But you still have to work hard and still have to learn. Anyway, that's been a gear to the last thing.
1,000 times 0 is also 0.
That's not, no, we're not talking about 0. You have to learn something.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, fine. Is this to me?
Can I say a little something?
What's that?
Okay, please, just your attention. I would like to use the Koyach HaTzibur Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tamuz to and Itchem B'Yizvaduschem. The Frierdiker Rebbe writes in the letter with you in Farbrengs to bench the daughters, Refuah Shlema and Brius Esonot, for the daughters of our dear friend Chamus Uri. I would like him to say the names, please.
The first for the first twin, because
Twin girls.
and
They're still in the hospital.
one she came out at home months ago already, but there is one at now it's a NICU, and she need good lungs, good health for the lungs, but to make the press normally, not assistant with the oxygen. Her name is Nessa Ishea Emuna Teita Bat Chana Bracha. וגם also is a sister, because she need to gather more health about the eyes. She need something that Hashem ייתן להם בלי surgery, בלי nothing. Her name is the sister twin is Nili Yochana Tikvat Raki Bat Chana Bracha.
רפואה שלמה, נצא לחיים, לחיים together, רפואה שלמה, קרוב התקף ומיד ממש.
chance que je me sois appelé.
Hey, aïe, aïe, da, da, da. Aïe, 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 da, da, da.
Il fait beaucoup de tzedaka et un peu de fait.
Ouais, tu mets là. Aïe, aïe, Simcha Shem levadecha